Do you find that your ADHD makes you keep going back to the same situations again and again and again, and you feel like you're stuck in them and that nothing is ever going to change? I'm going to share with you probably my top ADHD hack today, so let's get into it. Right, so I'm pretty sure that every ADHDer will be familiar with this feeling, that we always convince ourselves that no, next time is going to be different, next time I'm going to somehow manage this, I'm not going to forget that thing, I am going to finish that other project, I am going to unpack after holiday, I am going to call that person back, but then we kind of don't. And that naturally leads to us blaming ourselves, more blame, more blame, more blame. And that's something we really don't need any more of, thank you very much. And this just creates tension because we're consistently trying to be this thing that we're told we should be, but actually we're not that thing with this other thing, and we only see the bad in this thing that we actually are. Because there's this pulling, pushing, we don't actually get to see the good in what we actually are. And here a quote that's commonly attributed to Carl Jung really applies, that what you resist persists. And I don't mean, I'm not saying that if you stop resisting these ADHD traits, they suddenly vanish. That's not the case. But when you stop resisting them, you open yourself up to new ways of working with them so that they stop being such an issue for you, such a barrier or a hindrance. And actually you might even start to see their strengths. But it's understandable that we stay in this space of judging ourselves and trying to be something else, on top of all of these 20,000 negative comments that we've had on top of the standard amount compared to neurotypical people. We're just primed to believe that what we are and how we are is somehow wrong. But then we have this incongruence because everything that we are, all the internal messaging and all the internal desires, all the internal just natural state of being is often in conflict with what we actually are and what the external messaging is. And as always, incongruence equals unhappiness. So what do we actually do about this? What is the actual hack here? For me, this hack is self-awareness. And then when we're aware of what we are, how we are, we can start working with that. We can start compensating for it like we would with any other trait. Like if you're quite short, you have a little stepladder in the kitchen. It then also frees you up to start working with the strengths that you have because you're aware of your strengths and you're aware of your weaknesses and you work with them. So for example, I know that I always forget many things, even though I have to do them on a daily or weekly basis. Now in my case, I have a partner and I've stopped saying, I'm going to do it, I'm going to remember, no one needs to help me, I'm going to absolutely do it this time, even though I've forgotten every week for the last several years. So I have that awareness and I've actually managed to stop trying to delude myself into thinking that I can be something else. And all it takes is for my partner, in this case, to remind me, do go and do that thing, because she can remember every time, let's say, taking the bins out. It could also be a friend, it could be a brother, sister, parent, whoever it is, someone who doesn't struggle to do these things and for whom it won't be much of an imposition to actually help and support you in, let's say, remembering. If you have sensory issues, maybe you can't stand the sensation of doing the washing up, maybe there's a trade-off to be done. The person you live with will do that and you do something which you can manage very easily. If you run a home with someone, maybe you're married and you know that you can really get into decorating or bringing a certain aesthetic to the house or something like that, that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of creativity and thought and time, and that is really valuable. I've had quite a lot of clients actually who divide the household work that way, that one is in charge of the stuff that requires planning and regular thought, and then the other person is in charge of just making the house a home. And neither is worth more or less than the other. They're both valuable parts of running a home and running a relationship even. We all have limits and difficulties, and the fact that your difficulties or limits are related to ADHD don't make them in any way meaningfully worse than any other limits, be it physical or mental or any other kind. Knowledge here really is power, and knowing the things that you can reliably do and the things you reliably can't do is going to start unlocking possibilities to be a bit more creative and start thinking about this in a different way. And it's going to stop you from feeling that you fail at every turn, because you're doing the things that you can do and doing less of the things you can't do, but always finding a balance. So that stops this from becoming a really one-sided thing where you just say, I can't do anything, and your partner then has to do everything. This isn't a get out of jail free clause, which means you have to do nothing. So that's it, that's my hack. Self-awareness. Just let the fact into your brain, allow that to come in fully, that there are going to be things that actually no, you aren't going to remember, you aren't going to be able to do. And that's really okay. Make allowances as you would for any other variable in your life, be that height, strength, weight, academic strengths or weaknesses or interests, any of that. This all goes into the same category. Let me know down in the comments, what would be the first thing that you would let go of? What would be the first thing that you let into this new identity of yourself as who you are?